again, those guys had more obstacles and less to work with than anyone else in the society. Anyone else in the society.
Yeah. So
Um,
and let's actually, we could talk about another one if you want to move on
sure, yeah.
to a third theme. Kind of an imperviousness to being shamed,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So you have black community leaders, black preachers. You've heard the, we're not against rap. We're not against rappers, but we are against these thugs.
Was it Calvin Butts?
But yes, it was.
He's for that. But Calvin Butts, very prominent black pastor in New York.
Yeah.
Who, yeah, he kind of was one of the leaders of the clerical anti-rap movement of the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
But before that, you had Jesse Jackson.
Yes.
Speaking out against it. And, so I thought that seeing that in the movie and thinking about your book, I say, oh, that's what that is. That's a kind of heroic imperviousness to shame. But then I started thinking, like, do money and fame and women just make you really not give a shit about what some preacher might say? I don't know.
I'm sure it helps.
Yeah.
So first of all, so the politics being put forward by Calvin Butts, Jesse Jackson and company, and Al Sharpton, by the way, was also a leader in this. And Sharpton was leading marches on record label companies as of like 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, boycotts.
Yeah, boycotts. Right. So, by the way, Jesse Jackson started that, leading a campaign against disco in the 1970s. No one knows about that, but he had a whole movement against disco. It was big, a national movement.
That's awesome.
Same reason, right? Same stuff, because it was too sexual and too violent and blah blah blah. So that kind of politics is very much part of a long lineage in black, what I would call sort of mainstream politics. Martin Luther King espoused it. Frederick Douglass did. Abolitionists did. It's called, now we call it respectability politics. And by the way, one of the very interesting things lately is Black Lives Matter activists have kind of very explicitly rejected respectability politics. They use that term and they say, we are not respectable.
Okay.
So I actually, I'm sure a lot of your listeners are not as fond of them as I am, but I'm pretty excited about them. Some of them, especially the ones in Seattle. I don't know, the ones who disrupted Bernie Sanders. Have you seen that?
Yeah. And still, I see something like that, and my reaction is to be just extremely put off by it.
Yeah.
You know, it just looks so. I mean, there's a lot of people who are living lives that I don't know what it feels like to live that life. So I see something like that, and I say, this part of me says, well, gosh, that's disruptive. You know, that's not respectable.
Exactly.
And maybe that part exists in you too. Yours is quieter than mine. Maybe that part is gone.
No. When I first saw the video, I was kind of like clenched with angst about it. There was something in me, absolutely, I was just deeply bothered by it. And the more I thought about it, and then more importantly, you should absolutely read and listen to her interviews in the week after that. She's very, very smart. And libertarians have a lot to learn from her. I'm forgetting her name, but anyway, it's the woman who was sort of the leader of that, the two of them, the one who actually spoke. She's very, very smart and very pro-freedom in some really important ways. First of all, the Bernie Sanders thing, just as an aside here. What was the guy? This was not like a free exchange of ideas among civilians, right? That they disrupted. What was he doing? What was he about to do? He was about to give a speech, right?
Yeah.
So that in pursuit of holding, right, the most powerful position in the government in the history of the world, right?
Yes.
He's going to be the head of the killing machine. You know what I mean? So it was a statist thing, first of all. Libertarians need to understand that. It was a statist thing that they disrupted, so I got no problem with that. Like marching into like brunch restaurants on a Sunday morning and chanting, I'm not into that at all. Or, again, like if it was sort of like this free exchange of ideas or something, and they, like a panel discussion on some topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they disrupted that, I'd be less interested. But fuck it, guy's running for president, and sort of and by the way, I was just listening to Lou Rockwell and Tom Woods talking about Donald Trump today.
Okay. Yeah.
I know. No one's perfect, okay? Nothing and no one is perfect. But their major point about Donald Trump, I agree with, which is he's not respectable. He's not boring. He says what he wants to.
China!
And politics, electoral politics in this country, but politics generally, is constrained. The way we talk about and think about politics is constrained by that, by respectability. You're not allowed to say certain things, right? Which is a very, very conservative force. It stops us from thinking outside the box, right? It is the box in many ways, right? So just saying what you're not supposed to say, even if it's about Mexicans or women's periods, it allows for freedom for all of us in terms of what we can say politically.
Yeah, it's ventilation. Exactly.
It's more than that. I mean, it just opens up holes that we can, fill with other ideas. So
that's true. Yeah.
So respectability politics, yes. That's what the opponents within the black community. I hate that term. I can't believe I just used it.
Yeah.
That's such a thing. I take that back. The black opponents of N.W.A. That's what they were playing. They were playing respectability politics. And that's what N.W.A. was, flouting, which is great.
So when I'm in your neighborhood, you better duck, 'cause Ice Cube is crazy as fuck. As I leave, believe I'm stomping, but when I come back, boy, I'm coming straight out of Compton. Coming straight out of Compton.